Hey, this is Jorge Rivera, the host of the St. Augustine Tonight Show. I find myself today at the Scott Grant Radio Show on 103.9 WSOS.
Hi, this is Scott Grant, and we are broadcasting from Stand Fast Studios in beautiful downtown Ponte Vedra Beach. And I'm here today with my co-host, Jennifer Price. Hi, Jennifer.
Hello.
Good to have you here, as always. And our guest today is the inimitable Jorge Rivera from St. Augustine Tonight Show.
Hey, thanks.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being up early.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, thank you.
So you were up late last night? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I do this.
He's a late night guy.
A disco thing at the Oddbirds. And so it was great. It was just going back to the old disco hits, and the place was packed. It was great. People dressed up. It was a lot of fun.
I've been dying to get you and Sharon there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Were they wearing like polyester and bell bottoms and the whole thing?
They even wearing some psychedelic shirts, and they were wearing one guy dressed up like a pimp. I mean, he had a long trench coat, really cool cowboy hat. I mean, people were just eating it all up. So it was a lot of fun.
I love Oddbirds. That's a beautiful place in St. Augustine.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been there. I think I'll have to go now.
Well, they're moving. They're moving now across the bridge. They're moving to a 7,000 square foot place. I believe what I heard is that building is going to be demolished or semi-demolished, and River and Post, a restaurant group, is basically going to put something there and run it. That's the rumor.
I love that building. That's ancient.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the rumor. I might be totally wrong, but that's what someone told me.
You said disco, and I thought of Gloria Gaynor. What was
that?
Yeah. Was that I Love the Nightlife? Was that song?
Yeah, she did that, and I think she has I Will Survive.
I Will Survive. That was a good one, too.
Yeah. Some disco people had, like, that one hit, and then some people had several hits. And it was funny last night because I just had all the hits coming. So every time they'd be dancing to, let's say, Frankie Goes to Hollywood, relax, and then they leave the floor and I play, you dropped a bomb on me. They'd all come back to the floor. It was so funny.
So they wanted those hits from the 70s. They didn't want more modern stuff.
Yeah. We played some of the old stuff. I'm going to ring your bell,
So you DJ?
Yeah. I was DJing out of an iPod.
Now that's a fun party. I've been to your parties.
Yeah. And so it was a lot of fun. So I had them all lined up. Elizabeth Garrett helped me also. It was her idea to do a disco party, and then I said, what music you like? I brought in some new disco, so it was just the perfect formula for a great night.
We're on WSOS, and that's 60s, 70s, and 80s. So this is a perfect radio station to be promoting
the oldies,
a disco night, because our audience likes that music. I think.
There's some people who hate disco, but most people just love it, and there's so many memories tied to it. From watching Saturday Night Fever to Studio 54. I mean, there's all this genre and history of it that makes it so much fun.
Well, even in its day, there were people on both sides of the disco issue.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, but the White Sox, the Chicago White Sox, or maybe it was the Indians, but in either case, it was Bill Veeck, who was sort of this legendary baseball promoter, and Bill Veeck has Disco Sucks Night, and they piled a bunch of disco albums on the field, and I don't know if they burned them or if the fans came out and stomped them, but it destroyed the field. That was part of the end result was the field was unusable.
Oh wow!
And but they drew a big crowd. A lot of people came out for disco. I think it was Disco Sucks Night. Now in retrospect, we wonder in the 70s, could you have had that? Maybe it had a different name, but it was the intent was the same.
Right. I love all music. I mean, I love jazz. I love rock. I love Metallica, hip hop. I mean, I love it all. Even country. I love a good, good old, what's her name? Tammy Wynette, or she was huge. She died young. What's her name? Patsy Cline. Love Patsy Cline.
Crazy.
I love Johnny Cash. So, for me, music is music.
I love
Johnny was just cool.
How do you feel about Dolly Parton?
I like her too. I mean, I think her early career, I loved a lot of her songs because they were personal, about the little coat with all the patches and stuff like that. So I like the older Dolly than the newer, because once you get really popular, then people start molding your music. They start sort of redefining your music, and I think you lose a little bit of your creative expression.
That's probably true. The reason I bring it up, though, is the one person who does not like Dolly Parton's music that I know is her husband. And apparently they've been married like 50 plus years.
Yeah, they have a real strange relationship. Yeah,
and he has been to see her perform once.
Yeah.
And doesn't really like to listen to her music.
Yeah.
And I saw a Dolly Parton interview where she said it was complicated. It's complicated.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure he enjoys the income stream.
you would think he enjoyed
Yeah,
the income stream.
I
There's
think
got to
so.
be a lot of money in being Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
More than being Jorge Rivera.
Dolly
Yeah,
Wood, all her movies,
Oh.
9 to 5.
Jorge's on a budget. Yeah.
Jorge's on a
Dolly
budget.
is. Dolly. I figure. I guess there comes a point where you have more money than Crocus. So.
Then Crocus?
Yeah.
I don't think I've heard that one
What's
before.
Crocus?
Crocus was someone who had a lot of gold in Greek times or something like that.
Okay.
I think I do know that
Yeah,
story.
they say that they
some
say
history.
got more money than Crocus.
Well, when he
yeah.
interviewed me the other day, he said Methuselah, and that was, I think,
Methuselah,
probably what went
yeah.
over everybody's head.
Yeah.
Hey, we're running out of time for this segment, so we're going to take a break, and we'll be back
All
with
right.
Jorge Rivera of the St. Augustine Tonight Show.
Hi, I'm Billy Bussard, and I interviewed the Beatles, which is a much bigger deal than being on the Scott Grant Show.
Hi, this is Scott Grant, and we're here in our studio in beautiful downtown Ponte Vedra Beach, and I'm here today with my co-host, Jennifer Price.
Hello.
It's always good to have you here, Jennifer, and our guest, Jorge Rivera.
Thank you.
And we're live right now. Is that right, Jessica? We're live?
right.
Jessica Carlo is broadcasting the show, simulcasting
Wow.
the show live on.
Shout out to Jessica Carlo.
And a shout out to Marky Marcano. Hola.
Hola.
Actually, you know what? You speak Spanish, right?
Sí.
So say hi to the Marky Marcano people in Spanish, if you want.
Bueno, todos los que están viendo esto en vivo a través de iHeart, a la comunidad latina, ya sean puertorriqueños, colombianos, venezolanos, y por ahí voy hasta la Tierra del Fuego. Mi corazón, mi cariño, gracias y mucho amor y fuerza, fe y todo se puede, pueblo.
And we got a picture here of Jorge on the cover of Folio magazine. We'll get that
I
on
know,
the
that
camera.
was a surprise. I knew they were writing an article. I didn't know I'd be on the cover.
That's hot.
You know,
Yeah,
because
it's a
they write
great-
articles all the time. They said, we want to cover this. Fine. And then someone sent it to me like at 1 a.m. I saw a digital version of it. And I stopped what I was doing. I got close, and then I opened it. I said, is someone playing or no? And it was true. I was on the cover. And
It was that suit.
Yeah, that's Gulani's suit, man. That was the first suit he won.
Sharp.
I think his favorite suit. That was
He
that
was
first
very
show.
he was very emotional when he was talking about that suit to me. We did an interview with Jessica right before he went on the air with you the other
Right.
night, and he was very emotional about that
Yeah,
suit.
yeah.
He was describing in a lot of detail everything that was going on in that suit. You know, I see.
This jacket right now that I'm wearing. I guess you guys could see it there. That's also his jacket that he gave me. And he said, "You know what? I don't want it back. Keep that." So I have to. Though we're giving them to USO and other veteran organizations. I keep those too, and they're great pieces of conversation because they're beautiful suits. And so when someone says that's a nice suit, I can tell them, "Let me tell you the story behind this suit."
Well, you know, and it's interesting. He told me that was a tuxedo that you're wearing.
It could be, ma'am. The material is awesome.
He said it was a tuxedo, and so it was Superna. It was his wife, Superna, who said, "Let Jorge keep that."
She's
Smart
sweet.
move.
She's very pretty, very, very. She has this energy about her.
Yes.
That is so peaceful, so nice. Lucky man.
Yeah, I think they're a great couple, and the daughter's going to medical school at
She's
university.
an awesome doctor too. what
Yeah, she
does,
is.
so-
She is. She definitely.
Their daughter is a beauty queen.
Oh, I didn't know that.
and a med student.
Oh,
at
Miss
wow.
University of
USA.
Central
Boy,
Florida.
that'd be a tough one to meet the in-laws, man.
Yeah, you'd have to have your game on, I think,
Oh,
before you
I
go to the
guess
Galati's
so.
house to date the
Darn.
daughter.
Brush up on your
You better have your
Shakespeare,
MD.
Yeah, I think you probably do need an MD. Lawyers need not apply.
brother. That's funny.
So you're doing the St. Augustine Tonight Show, and that's
Right.
become a big deal, right?
Well, it has, I mean, this is season 4, and it's like, season 1 was very scarce of the audience because it was a Friday at noon. Very terrible time, unless you're big like Conan or Jimmy Fallon, where people, go all the way to New York to stand in line to get in by 2 o'clock. season 2, people wanted the show, so people gave me free venues everywhere. So I was at the Leitner, at the amphitheater, at the distillery. I was in all these places. So I did, I think, 7 venues, 13 shows. Then season 3 was the one that suddenly kicked in, and we were at Garrett Brothers, which was a huge furniture store with fancy
Yeah, I heard
furniture.
you were doing it. A couple of people said to
And
me
there
that
was packed. I mean, we were packed. I mean, not every night, but we were packed almost every show, right to the glass in the back. It was crazy. And then there were shows that we had. You know, when you're used to having a bunch of people and then you have half, you're kind of disappointed. But, you know, at half, you're still doing good. And now it's hit critical mass, you know, where suddenly I'm here at your show, I'm Melissa Ross, I'm on Folio, I'm in Compass magazine, a record. I mean, I myself is, you know, I think it's a dream, and I'll wake up and you know, we're packed. You've been to a couple of the shows. We can't hold them
the
in.
2 I went to were full house.
Yeah,
I could barely squeeze myself in the back once I was done doing whatever I had done, and I got to introduce you twice.
Yeah.
So that was pretty exciting for me. I got to tell you.
Well, the energy of it's like I was telling someone, I can plan the show, but I can't plan the energy of the audience. It's either there or not. That is just, you're either blessed with that or not. And it's great to walk out and feel that roar, to hear the people reacting to the guests.
Oh, yeah, my 12-year-old son is fascinated.
Really?
I mean, my biggest mistake was taking him once, and now he has to be there. He even asked me yesterday, "We're going every Tuesday night, right, Mom?"
You know, my
son,
Great.
My son was pretty
shut up.
fascinated too, and I think what we noticed was getting them. They're 13, getting them and 12, but getting them to pay attention to anything. You know, for any length of time
Right.
in this era is just impossible.
Yeah.
And they sat there transfixed
Wow.
watching that show. They never
That's
moved
great.
from the chairs. And the chairs, they were excited because the chairs had my name on them. They were reserved for me, and they're sitting in my chairs right up front.
Royalty.
And
yeah.
they were into it. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no question. They were way into it.
my son's favorite part is the comedian.
Oh yeah, I extended it to comics because I brought some on the other show, and Lauren Brissette, she'll also have a spot for comedy. We did a comedy soiree in her home to pick them, and so we got them, and she was very helpful with that.
Oh, that's interesting. So you actually auditioned the comics.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Oh, I want to go to that one.
Yeah. All right. Hey, we got to take a break, and then we will be back. And before we go, I want to say hola to all the fans in Marquis Marcano land.
Hola.
Hi, this is Grace De La Rosa, and welcome to the Scott Grant Show on 103.9 FM WSOS.
Hi, Scott Grant here from Standfast Studios on WSOS 103.9 FM. And I'm here today with my co-host, Jennifer Price. Hello, Jennifer.
Downtown
Ponte Vedra. And our guest today is Jorge Rivera.
Ready to rumble.
How do you like those intros?
Hey, those are great.
I really got a kick out of doing that. I was like, and now from America's oldest city, the St. Augustine Tonight Show, starring Jorge Rivera.
Well, that was funny because I was at the Kirk Marsh. He was a guest on the show, but he had his opening at the Rotunda, and one of the commissioners saw me and says, "Hey, I start every morning seeing you because there's the big billboard on State Road 16 of the St. Augustine Tonight Show." So that was funny that he said that. And you know, there's so many people behind this show. You know, we have Danny Berenberg, we have Rod Morris, not Rod Stewart, just Rod Morris. We have Stephanie Fox, Lenny Santiago, Anna Miller. We have Ward Clayton, who's been tremendous PR man. He was the one, you know, who makes sure that I'm visible. I just can go on and on. You know, we're doing it at the Corazon. That made that possible. And so there's just a bunch of people. Bernadette Rivelle, who does the social media.
Bernadette's great. I'm impressed by your
Everybody sitting around that
entourage.
table to put this together. It's not easy. It has moving parts. I'm just the guy who stands out there. But there's a whole machine behind me that this would not have been possible.
They don't know
without
what you're
them.
doing, but they're all so friendly and
Yeah.
sweet, even under fire.
We have them drink something at the beginning.
Oh, I'm wondering what that is.
So
And my crew. Let me give a shout out to Griffin Syverson, Stasia Ehlers, Bailey Champ, and Lenny Santiago, the co-producer. These kids are amazing. They're all learning, and they're not afraid, man. They're hungry. They're hungry.
So that's great. And this might be a good time to tell the audience how they can see the show. So you're at the Corazon Theater
Right.
on Tuesday nights.
So we tape live the show, so people can come to the show. It's taped in front of a live audience. At the same time it's being taped, it's being streamed live on Facebook. So you go to Facebook and you go to St. Augustine Tonight. That'll come up. You can sign up there, and people can watch it on wherever they are. And people are watching it and they're leaving comments. It's quite interesting. Then what I do is the next 2 days after the show, I edit. There's an edited version of the show I bring on YouTube, and there it lives forever. And then I send the links to everybody. And, when I add up all my platforms, I got close to 10,000 people. So, some see it on LinkedIn, some people see it on Facebook, some see it on YouTube, some see it on Twitter. It just goes on and on and on.
Well, I have to say, I think I would urge anybody out there who's interested to see the show live, because it's a nifty atmosphere. And a lot of energy. I was really uplifted and thrilled by the way the people reacted when I was on the show. You're sitting up there and people are screaming and applauding, and the energy. And I think it comes through some on the when you're watching it in the recorded version, but not like being there.
No, nothing's the same watching the game on TV or watching the game.
I think that's why my son likes it so much. It's the first experience he's ever had with just a live show.
Yeah, I think my son too. I think we talk about this sometimes because the kids, we do all this stuff, and the kids are kind of like Dolly Parton's husband.
Right.
But then when they came and saw it, they were like, "Oh wow, this is really impressive."
Yeah, I'm also experimenting with guest hosts. Someone I give the show to. I have 3. Like Johnny Carson used to give it to Joan Rivers or Rich Little, or someone would come
You
and
must
do
really
the show.
trust these people.
Well, yeah. So this coming show, it'll be Lee Weaver.
And we love Lee.
Yeah,
Lee and I have
amazing.
worked together, and we're planning going just to support Lee
Right.
and be there for the show.
Yeah.
But we worked with Lee on on putting the monument to the 16 or 17 rabbis.
Yeah.
And I say 16 or 17 because on the plaque that we put in, it says 16.
Right.
But back in 1964, they always said 17. It turns
Right.
out one of the 17's not a rabbi.
Right.
So when they put that plaque in,
Yeah.
They're by the book, man.
they left that guy out. I feel bad for that guy,
He
frankly.
didn't pass
He
his
didn't
test.
have the title.
He
That's
did
what
not
happened.
have it. He
had
didn't
that
have it.
royal status.
He was a
Just a
I don't think,
layperson.
yeah, layperson. He was
Yeah,
a
yeah,
layperson,
yeah.
and for 50 years, people talked about the 17 rabbis,
Right,
and they put
right.
the plaque in,
Right.
and it's only
Yeah,
16.
Lee's involved with a lot of stuff. We have Amy Hendrickson, who's loved in the music community, and then my last host for the series will be Lee Court, who's big here in the Ponte Vedra area.
My favorite person.
Yeah,
Yeah,
especially
Jennifer and
with
Lee are
culinary
really
and
tight.
hospitality, and she has a huge history in theater as an actress, as a the Trump organization in the 80s
Sure.
when they were huge. Sardis. It goes on and on.
And she was in a feature film.
Yeah.
With Cliff Robertson, actually played Cliff Robertson's wife in a feature film. I forget the name of it, but she was in it, and that I think was the only film she was in. I mean, it's the only one that I can
Well,
find.
theater was her big strong,
Right.
which is so demanding. I have a background as an actor, and theater is very brutal preparation.
I want to be Lee Court when I grow up.
Okay.
Me too.
But I tell a lot of people, if you're new to St. Augustine and you want to know the people who make this community, heartbeat, what makes it bum bum bum, just watch my shows. You're going to meet everyone. You're going to meet artists, authors, philanthropists. You're going to meet historians. You're going to meet all sorts of people.
I was impressed. I've been impressed by the guests and by how many of them are I didn't know, and how impressive they were.
Yes.
Harry McCormick, the artist, was on the show, and
This cover photo looks like a Harry McCormick.
I know. No,
Is he going to
that's it.
paint you in the bar?
He painted me and my son. I did a documentary on him, and I flew up to New York. And if you could see it, you could see it on firstcoast.tv. Just go to the search bar at the bottom, put portrait of an artist, and the documentary will show up. It's a 20-minute documentary. And he loved that documentary. That when we showed it at the Corazon, he came up and he came with this big canvas cover, and he pulled it, and it was me and my son, and it's in my living room. It's about half the size of that there. I was just speechless.
You need a bigger apartment.
My eyes got all. Yeah, I just
That's
got
pretty
felt
amazing.
that, and he had this smile on his face because he took a picture of me, and he's always taking pictures, but I didn't know it was going to translate that I'd be a subject of Harry McCormick now. And,
That's gold.
And my son probably will sell it on eBay when I die, but.
Oh, maybe he will. I don't know. Hey, we got to take a break, and we will be back with Jorge Rivera.
Hey, it's John Miller, your rock solid lawyer. Man, I love the music on 103.9, 60s, 70s, and 80s. My music. I love it almost as much as I love the Scott Grant Show.
Hey, Scott Grant here on WSOS 103.9 FM, and I'm here today with my co-host, the inimitable Jennifer Price.
Oh, I'm going to have to look that one up. Thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, we do play word a day sometimes, right?
Inimitable?
Inimitable.
Oh, I said it right. Inimitable.
And our guest, Jorge Rivera.
Presente.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. And I was on your show, and we did an interview, and I really liked it. I want to thank you. It was a lot of fun being on your show. One of the highlights of my life, frankly, was being on your television show. And getting interviewed by you.
You felt like a real star.
It was fun.
I did feel like a real star that night.
There was a lot of good feedback from your interview. I get some. I never get negative interview. The worst I'll get is no feedback at all, which means it was okay. But then I'll have someone who, just resonates for whatever the message or how funny it was. I had Margaret Nicholson talking about looking for her biological father, and that interview was
was hilarious.
I know
that was good. She was on right before me. So.
She shocked us.
Yeah. It's funny because when I told someone I was having her on, he says, "What makes her interesting?" I said, "Just listen. Don't let me run the show. I know why I have her." And she worked marvelously, and she felt great after it. And it was a great interview.
Well, Jennifer and I have that conversation every once in a while regarding our guests, and I'm like, just trust me. This person's going to be good.
Yeah.
And so we've had a couple like that.
You'll say, don't judge a book by the cover, kind of thing.
Yeah, he'll say a name, and I'll scratch my head. Why?
Well, Nagorski was pretty good. We liked Nagorski.
Nagorski was great. He was on my season 3.
I liked him a lot. I'd like to do some more stuff with him because he's a very
I could do
interesting.
hours with him. He's just an encyclopedia.
And what I liked about your show, or one of the things I liked about your show, is the audience was really receptive to the civil rights stuff. And sometimes I do that, and I'll be invited someplace to do it, and I'll even think to myself, why does this group want to hear it? And I'll get there, and the worst fear is realized. About half the group doesn't want to hear that there was Martin Luther King came here in 1964.
Civil rights to me breaks down to something. I talk to friends on if you want to call it, they're on the right or whatever it is. But to me, is how is it that you have a group of people that you bring here against their will, and they've been here longer than most whites, because everyone said, well, my parents came, or my people came in 1800s or someone ago. But these guys have been right here before we were even a free country. They fought in all our wars, and they've been loyal. Why are they still struggling to be Americans? I don't get this. Why do they not have the full plate? They've been here the longest. They fought all the wars. They've been loyal. Why are we still debating whether school's for them or this for them, or should they drink from the same water fountain? What's up with this? I do not understand.
Yeah, why are we still timid about taking
they're
sign
Americans.
that
Leave
says
them alone.
equal rights for all
Right, they're Americans. Leave them alone.
out into the public?
Well, I agree with you. I do 100%. And I don't have a really good answer.
Right. I don't get it.
But it's pervasive to this day.
Well, it is. It's not an American thing. It's all around the world. You see all these groups: Rohingyas, the Syrians, the Sunnis, the Shiites. It just goes on and on and on. It's a human condition, which I hope with time we could somehow spiritually elevate and let it be like.
I don't know. I studied anthropology, and it's a very human thing to categorize, separate.
Well, but I see people now 10,000 on a bridge rooting for a dolphin to get out and
Oh
save
my
himself.
goodness.
Yes.
That is a spiritual bound, my friend.
Well, did you know the
You know?
Well, we
this-
like animals more than humans, right?
hold on, hold on.
There's a truth to that. you
There
know?
is, but hold
kinda
on a second.
sad.
I got something to contribute to this conversation. The state of Florida is, I think, just debating right now a bill that will make it if you are charged with domestic abuse, then you won't be able to own a pet.
Oh, look at
Oh,
that.
that would have helped me.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Isn't it?
I mean, it's
And
kind
it
of
shows
logical.
it shows you how kind of into our pets
Right.
we are.
Yeah.
We want to protect those pets from
We
somebody
love
who
animals.
Can
who-
it pertain to children?
I don't know the details.
Oh
I
my
just know that if
goodness.
you are a domestic abuser and this bill passes, then you won't be able to own a pet. It will protect your pets
Yay, animal rights activists.
and there's a lot of animals. We root for pets. And if you watch the TV, I mean, there's tons of ads, particularly Christmas time,
Right.
about
Someone told me-
pets. No animal,
Right.
no pet
Yeah.
should ever not
Well,
have a home.
Someone told me if you want to get a lot of clicks on the internet, just make sure on your show you have a sweet little puppy or a piano playing kitten.
No.
And you just
Well,
do
cat
great.
cat videos have become sort of a running
I
joke anyway,
know.
right?
I'm there. I want to see the piano playing.
I
kitten.
know. So I
Well, I
should
think
have
your
one.
kids do too, and I know my son. My son would, to this day. I mean, he's 13. He'd rather watch the Puppy Bowl than the Super Bowl. So we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see when
yeah,
this one
yeah,
runs
yeah.
around.
And it's quite funny through the internet. You see what people, something really silly will hit like 11 million clicks, and then something very serious will only get 60,000.
It's just
You're
like your articles.
Well, we say that all the time too. That I can put in and I did put in a memorial to 19 guys that died during World War II and get less attention than a piano playing cat. Certainly,
Exactly.
a piano playing cat's going to beat me every time.
It'll beat you by a landslide.
Yeah.
By a landslide.
Hey, we got to take a break. Each segment is flying by. Jorge.
I know.
You're a
I
great
know.
guest.
Hi, I'm Andrew Nagorski, the author of 1941, the year Germany lost the war. You are listening to the Scott Grant Show in St. Augustine, Florida on 103.9 FM.
Hey, Scott Grant here with my co-host Jennifer Price.
I'm here.
Present. You're marking yourself
Present.
Okay.
What's that in Spanish?
Presente.
Presente.
He did it last segment. I could have done that.
Of course,
one.
I sounded a little Italian there. I don't.
Do you know what the?
presente.
Do you know
In
what this?
Italian is presente.
Oh, really?
In Italiano, you
How many
bring up-
languages do you speak?
English, Spanish. My German is quite good. I can survive a German conversation. My Russian comes in and out, so that's about
Well,
it.
I can't speak Russian at all. I can speak some French
Russian's
and more
a beautiful
German.
language. Is that you just
Oh, yeah.
watch it in a movie. I remember listening to Gorbachev in the mornings when I wake up. I was in Moscow for a bit, and he'd go, "Babadroyska Nenetska Batutryski, Babroska ya hachu Solyanka supli chabli maslo payasta," and he would just. It was almost like hearing a good Shakespeare, and because you usually. When you listen to it, it's like German. You see it in war movies. It's all screaming at people, Achtung, Achtung. But when you listen to German too, it's very beautiful.
Well, German's a harsh language. And by the way, I didn't tell the audience, but our guest today is Jorge Rivera, and he's been
Yes.
talking. So welcome, Jorge.
Hey, doing my thing.
So, I go out and I give these civil rights presentations or history, the history of the submarine. And I think, part of my goal is to educate people, and part of my goal is to create an emotion. You do the St. Augustine Tonight Show. And what's the goal of that show?
The word would be bubble.
Bubble?
Yeah, the word here is bubble. Because what I noticed in St. Augustine, it's like the old Kung Fu movies. All the schools all around you, and they're all out of competing against each other and trying to show you that their Kung Fu is better than the other school. And I felt that we needed something that would create its own bubble, but it would create bridges to all the bubbles and bring them all together.
So you're trying to build bridges between the different communities.
Yes, because I believe everyone's needed, and I felt that by bringing people of different art galleries or bringing people of different, my father used to say something to me, I never forget. You make the choice of being visible or invisible. don't complain of either one. You made the choice. So I wanted to bring a lot of people. A lot of people sit in my show and said, I've seen that gentleman. I've met him. I did not know his journey. Oh my Lord! And it's the thing of letting people know that there's playwrights out there, that there's theater other than the limelight, that there's a lot of stuff going on, and that everything has worth, everything is valid, and you need to respect each other and be more community-like than these bubbles.
Well, there's a lot of fascinating people in St. Augustine,
my
and I've learned of some more from your show.
Oh yes,
And they tend to live a long time,
Well,
from what you
yes,
proved.
Yes, but you have people like, I think you had Lenny Foster, for instance.
Lenny's a great guy.
Yes, Lenny's amazing.
And we did have him on the show. Have you had him on your show?
Yes, I had him on my show, and he was amazing. And I bring people. Sometimes people say, you need to talk to this person, and I'll meet them, and I'll hear the story, and I say, wow, that is a great. Other people I meet myself in parties and events and whatever. So, and then, some people just come to our community, but they bring something that has an impact. I feel everyone has an impact, big or small, but at the end, it's just part of that whole big pizza, whether you're just that little piece of pepperoni on the side. Hey, that might be your last bite, and that's quite nice.
But who's the pineapple that's on that pizza?
I don't know.
No,
Maybe
you
some
can't.
Hawaiians. Aloha to my
You've got me
Hawaiian
craving
brothers.
pizza now.
Aloha, indeed.
Aloha.
But yeah, and so you're trying to build bridges. That's
yeah,
the
I'm
goal.
trying people to celebrate us. We Jacksonville has no time for us.
Well,
Alyssa Ross is the only one I know that spends time with
You're
St.
right.
Augustine.
Well, and they're different markets. I mean, having done a fair amount of live presentations, in fact, fair amount, like over 200 of them, I can tell you that I do essentially the same presentation in Jacksonville and then do it again in St. Augustine, and I got to change it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be different because people in St. Augustine, they're not that interested in what happened in Jacksonville, and people in Jacksonville, other than Martin Luther King coming,
Right.
they are just
Right.
not interested. Saint Augie, who almost to me,
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah.
where's that? You know?
Yeah.
And the two cities, when you look at the history, they're pretty intertwined.
I my dream is that, Palm Coast, St. Augustine, and Jacksonville become like the tri-state area, like Connecticut, New Jersey, and New York.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a flow of people, of talent, of intellect, of a lot of stuff, and whether you read the Folio, the St. Augustine Entertainer, or Narrow Magazine. I mean, there's so much going on in our city.
Well, there's a lot going on. You're right. There's a lot going on in both cities. I mean, there's almost daily something that you
Yes.
could do.
Yes.
And sometimes, we have to make a choice as to which of two or even three events we're going to go to because we get invited to a lot of things. And it's
Yeah,
like,
the only people bored in this city or in this area are boring people.
Well, yeah,
because there's too much going on to
I
say
was
that.
one of those few New Yorkers that really enjoyed the city. I'd love to go to the jazz, to the museums, to parties, to exhibitions, to all that. And then I had friends who just go home after work.
well,
I
a
mean,
lot of people,
watch
people.
TV and go to sleep.
Oh, you-
There's
You've
a
said
lot of
this
people
before.
in general in the United States and here in this area. That's what they want to do. They want to go to work and they want to go home.
Right.
And they want to drink their beer.
Watch
drink a
bad
beer
TV,
and watch
drink
TV.
bad beer, and go to bed.
And TV,
Folgers.
for whatever reason, I can't stand TV anymore. The ads always bug
well,
me.
the TV of your time and my time is a different TV than now.
Yeah.
Now, that song by Bruce Springsteen, 355 channels and nothing on.
Yeah.
It's so true. I mean, I used to run home to see a show. Now people do this binge watching on all these cable, like Netflix or Amazon, and there's a bunch more.
Oh, there's a lot of shows you can binge watch, and I've
The day
done
has
this.
24 hours. How do you, people say, did you see this? Did you see that? Hello, I'm working.
I'm Donna Deegan. It feels like I've been running my whole life, and now I'm running for Congress. This is the Scott Grant Show, and you're listening on 103.9.
Hi, this is Scott Grant. I'm here in the studio with Jennifer Price
Hello.
and Jorge Rivera.
Here I am.
And during the break, we were talking about some things that we might be able to do together in the future. And
Hey,
I'd
I'm
love to
open.
work with you, man.
I'm open.
I'm a big fan, I don't think everybody knows it, but you and I have a history. We had done some video on the submarine
Yes,
attack.
the submarine interview of Mr. May, I think was his last
Phil
name.
May.
May.
And he was an
Yeah.
interesting guy. He
Yeah.
had some interesting stories, and his dad was a lawyer and represented Marjorie Kinnan Rawlings in a libel suit regarding a book she wrote called Cross Creek, and she got sued because one of the person from Cross Creek felt she had been unfairly characterized in the
One of
novel,
those.
and in the end, she lost that suit,
Okay.
and she was ordered to pay $1.
Wow.
So she was very happy with Phil Sr. But, Phil May, we went out to that beautiful apartment overlooking the river. I mean, I was up about like 10 floors.
On Riverside, was that? Or I don't remember where, but it was beautiful. It was right
Jennifer
by the
knows.
water.
Where was that place?
Ortega.
Ortega, okay.
It was very nice.
And it was really nice. And he died. He passed away about 3
I was
months
gonna ask.
after we did that
Really?
interview. So, yeah.
I wasn't aware of that.
I was
Wow.
really glad that we did that. And he had
Yeah.
some really neat stories to tell
Yes.
about his life, but
Yes.
mostly World War II.
Yeah, his mind was all there, man.
And he was talking about getting injured, getting in the Battle of the Bulge, and,
Right,
and
right.
really went through a lot of detail.
Yes. It's amazing what the mind will still hold. I sometimes worry, how much will I remember my life when I get to that point? This guy from the Monty Python just died.
Oh, which one?
He was the one who directed The Life of Brian.
I really like Life of Brian.
No,
by the
Very
way.
Cleese.
controversial. No, not
Okay.
Cleese. I forget his name. He was 77. Dementia was his.
May or Day, something like that.
Oh man, he also did the Holy Grail. Directed that.
A lot of
The
people
Meaning
like
of Life, he
a lot of
directed that.
people like the Holy Grail.
That was
and
a
that's-
cult classic.
and
I
the
loved.
cult
I loved
classic.
the
Great
Holy
movie.
Grail.
Great movie.
Holy
great
Grail
movie.
was funny.
And The Meaning of Life is another
Yeah.
one, not as popular, but a really good one.
Yeah, it
but
was
I have to say, I
controversial.
really like The Life of Brian.
Yeah, that
The
was
Life
funny.
of Brian's one of my
Well,
favorites.
some people called it sacrilege and all
Well,
that.
I'm sure they did.
It's funny in the world of religion, whether you do a movie like Life of Brian or whether you do a cartoon of the Prophet Muhammad. I mean, all caca goes your way, man. So it is subjects that you have to really be careful or know that they're coming after you do this.
Well, and you think people came after him for that?
Yeah.
I just remember I remember a lot of it, but I remember the one scene where the Palestinian Liberation Front is
PLO.
fighting with the Palestinian Front for Liberation,
Uh-huh,
right?
yeah,
And they're at each other's throats, even though they're.
it's funny.
That sounds familiar today.
It does. Well, Monty Python was good
He
at.
was ahead of his time in his comedy, which made it. Even the Holy Grail. I think my two favorite scenes. Was when he wanted to cross the land, and there was the night, and he chops his arm, and the guy keeps fighting. He chops his other arm. The guy has no arms, and he's trying to bite his legs. I mean, it's hilarious. Or the rabbit.
Yeah,
And they go,
the rabbit.
"Oh, just
rabbit's
go.
my favorite."
It's a bloody rabbit, and they go, and the rabbit comes and chops everybody's heads off. And so it was this really, really weird humor, but it was very. I think the equivalent to that would be the guys behind South Park. Like they're way
the South.
up there.
Now, the South Park. I have to say, there were
Yeah.
certain episodes of South Park that
Very
I would
controversial.
watch, and I go, I can't even watch this.
Yeah.
But then there were others
Yeah.
where I go, this is genius.
Yes, exactly.
This is absolute genius.
And that's the thing with an artist. You got to take his fortes and his non-fortes, and that's all.
So, are you an
how
artist?
I
think you are. What do you think, Jennifer? Are you an artist?
I believe Jorge works to make people feel
Yeah.
something, and I think that's the definition of an artist.
Whatever. I just feel it's two in one's horn and say, yes, I am an artist. I am creating right now my great masterpiece with both of you. Whatever. I just do what I do.
We talk about this periodically because what is art, and most people
Right.
think about
That's
painting,
it.
painting,
Yeah.
and
It's
then
your
well, is
painting.
writing and art, and I think it is
Cooking food and art.
right, and I think on some cases it is.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe in every case,
And that
'cause-
you can eat it is even better.
yeah, And
And
it gives
you-
you
Anita
two are
Picasso.
But it gives-
performance
Be too
But-
chewy.
artists.
but
Picasso
both
be
give-
very chewy.
But both
Yeah.
give you some sustenance in different ways.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. You have to take care of the parts that are not physical, that defined us as what we do, what we think.
Well, that's
And-
beautiful.
And
I
you,
like
you
that.
know, you talk about people, working and going home. They're missing out. They're missing out on a level of sustenance that you can't get from
Right.
television
Your question is what defines you?
or cat videos.
Yeah. Can another person define me? Can a piece of art define me? Do I define myself? And I think it's that quest that we go to these bookstores and there are all these books of, be a better dad. You can touch the stars. I mean, you could.
There's
go
a lot of
through book
those.
and book.
Well,
And you're
12
like-
steps to be a better dad.
yeah,
Let's
yeah,
get it right.
yeah.
12, 5 things, 5 keys.
So,
and if
I
you do
mean-
these 5 things,
I mean-
you're going to be a better
but
person.
it's live art that is.
Well, I think life
very-
is a philosophical journey, and it doesn't have to be pretty.
Live art, though, performance art is definitely lacking in the modern day when we're so used to recording.
Right. Well,
And
live
seeing
feeds
memes.
off an audience.
Yes.
And it does feed off an audience, and you got to you got to kind of know your audience, and you got to. I know that when I'm doing live presentations, and I do a lot of them, the way the audience reacts changes the presentation.
Right.
And I end up being a different presenter in front of one group versus another. If I get a lot of feedback, women, by the way, women are much better audience than men.
Women are more spiritual than men.
W-
As
wom-
a whole. I'm not saying there aren't men that are spiritual, but women have that other. It may be because they're geared to be mothers at some point, or they're just.
More
I don't know.
empathic.
Yes, and they're more.
Well, in England they would have in merry old England, King Henry VIII kind of time. They had 2
Right.
courts. They had the King's Bench and the Queen's Bench, and the
Uh-huh.
King's Bench did law,
Right.
and the Queen's Bench provided equity. So if there was not an equitable remedy at law, you could go to the Queen. It wasn't the Queen, but it was her court,
Uh-huh.
and you could get equity. You could say, "Well, this isn't fair."
Well, this comes back to Billy Bragg's song, where Billy Bragg, the singer, where in his song the person in it says, "I'm not looking for a court of law. I'm looking for a court of justice."
Right,
And,
right,
and,
right.
And this is you touched this topic here.
We're running out of time. I think we're going to have to end the show now. Will you come back?
Anytime.
We'd love to have you, and I'd like to hear about your next project. When you know
All
what the
right.
next project is, come back
Yes,
and tell us.
this one's absorbing me right now. Yes.
It's a great project. I love the show.
I'll be there every Tuesday.
All
Every
right.
Tuesday?
Yes. Well,
We
my
know we're go-
son has made me promise.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Well, a promise is a
I
promise.
promise. That's it.
All right. You've been listening to Scott Grant on 103.9 FM WSOS.
Hi, this is Mike Kaufman, and you're listening to my hero, Scott Grant, on the Scott Grant Radio Show on 103.9 FM, WSOS, StAugustineRadio.com.